You are Locked On Wolverines, your daily podcast on the Michigan Wolverines, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Happy Friday. You know what that means. That means we have a game tomorrow. That's right. We have a game on Saturday, and it's a big one. First time on the road for Michigan, going on the road to Madison, play Wisconsin. Here to break it all down with us on the Locked On Wolverines podcast is former Michigan tight end, Mackey Award-winning winner, Jake Butt, who joins us every Friday. Jake, so excited to have you. So excited for this game. Not excited for the 6-hour drive to Madison that I'm making here in a couple hours. But hey, you know what? I'll have a lot to ruminate on as we start to think about what is going to happen in this game, man. But glad you're here.
Yeah, man. As always, it's good to be here. Super excited about this game. We're going into Camp Randall, where we haven't won since 2001. So that would make this the 20-year anniversary. Is Michigan going to be able to pull off what they haven't been able to do in the past 2 decades? And I think this game is really, we're going to find out a lot about what this team's made of, a lot of the questions we've had, a lot of the frustrations from the fan base. Of course, we've been hearing it from the coaches and the players, but I think Michigan's ultimately going to have to find a way to, do some damage through the air. And this is going to be a big test against this, I think, a really, really good Wisconsin defense.
And that's the big question, right? Are they going to be able to do things through the air? Listen, they seem confident when you talk to this Michigan team. Everything that they say makes you think, like, if you're listening to what they're saying in press conferences, if you read articles that are out there, not just from the press conferences, there's some really good stuff out there from Ivan Maisel from On3 and Adam Rittenberg on ESPN, and everything that you hear, Michigan's supremely confident that they're going to be able to do what they want to do. And that includes running the ball. Obviously, I would imagine we're going to see more of the pass game, but if you were to ask these guys, are you going to be able to run the football against Wisconsin, despite the fact that the Badgers are only giving up 23 yards per game, only gave up 2 to 3 yards, depending on what outlet you look at for the box score, either 2 yards or 3 yards against Notre Dame. I mean, how can you be that confident that they're going to be able to do it? But it is the number one run defense in the country. Jake, how confident are you that Michigan's going to be able to run the football against Wisconsin?
Well, listen, I don't think we're going to see a 300-yard performance this week like we've kind of grown to be accustomed to, early in the season. I don't think we're going to go in there and just dominate this defense. I think Wisconsin has an elite front seven. I think they have talented linebackers. They're physical, they're big, they're strong. But we have big, strong offensive linemen. The tight ends have been blocking really well and playing really hard. And the running backs, when they've gotten their opportunity, when there's been seams to hit, they have been able to break out. So, again, I don't think it's going to be a dominant performance, but I do have confidence that Michigan is going to find a creative way to open up the run game. And, some of the things that I'd like to see is some of those end around reverses that we were seeing earlier in the year, just kind of built into the general game plan. It keeps the safeties true. The safeties can't just trigger straight down in the box, or, that leaves the edge wide open for a big gang for us. So just to have that threat of, hey, we're going to attack both edges would definitely loosen up like the interior of the Wisconsin defense. And another thing I really would like to see a little bit more of is, can we put Hassan Haskins and Blake Corum on the field at the same time? Can you kind of get into that RPO style that Gaddis likes of, Blake's got great smooth hands out of the backfield. I think he's got close to 60 yards receiving and a touchdown from a receiving touchdown this year. So can you show the run with Blake and read, what's the linebackers doing? Are they going to go with Blake? Can you show the run to Hassan Haskins up the middle and then send Blake into the flat? If no one's going with Blake, now you have the numbers on the edge to just dump it to him and almost do a short pass that ends up being like a run. If they do fly out there, you have numbers on the inside where you should, be able to loosen up things a little bit. So I'm looking for a little bit creative ways for them to just try to get some yards, just get some momentum going, and ultimately try to break down this Wisconsin defense.
And, that I'm really curious in how much they use some misdirection. One of the things that I'm thinking about is, there are a couple questions that we got all week, particularly when I looked at the mailbag yesterday. Why was AJ Henning not used more? Being one of them. Sorry.
Mhm.
Why was AJ Henning not being used more? And was Michigan saving some things up? Were they going kind of vanilla? Because everything kind of felt vanilla, particularly in the second half against Rutgers. How much do you think that maybe Michigan is saving some of those different looks to kind of catch Wisconsin off guard? And did you have any experience with that? Because it did seem like in 2015 in particular, I remember the Michigan State game, for instance, and it's like everyone was always surmising that Jabril was going to be in on the offense and Jabril was going to be in on the offense. And then he wasn't. And then finally, Michigan State game, he goes out there. Michigan State had to call 2 timeouts because he was out there. How much do you think that Michigan's got something for this game in that light?
Yeah. I mean, ideally, you would hope that these are the kind of games you do save plays for. You kind of go into the season with, maybe 3 to 5 like trick gadget plays that, the defense doesn't expect. And they're usually, big chunk plays, explosive plays, where you're trying to find a way to scheme somebody open, put them in a lot of space, like in terms of a unique screen, or find a way to sneak somebody into the back end of the defense and do it through the air. But, ultimately, I think that what this is going to come down to is really taking care of the football, and the turnovers are going to be the key part of this game. We haven't. I don't think Blake's thrown a interception this game. I think he's been sacked. I don't even think he's been sacked at all. Whereas Wisconsin's offense has been turning the ball over quite a bit. So I think what it's going to come down to is our defense, giving us, and special teams giving us good field position deep in the Wisconsin territory. And that's when you can take these gadget and trick plays and turn them into touchdowns. 40 yards here and there isn't going to be, the difference maker. It's ultimately going to be putting points on the scoreboard. So if you can get the ball deep, on the 35-yard line, the 30-yard line, and then you have a gadget play, that can ultimately turn into 7 points for us, which is going to be the big difference maker.
Well, that actually leads me to another thought, which I'll get to here in a moment. But because yes, Wisconsin does have the worst turnover ratio in all of FBS. Michigan is on the positive side. Wisconsin is a turnover machine under Graham Mertz. So let's talk about the defensive side and what they have to do here momentarily. But before we do, I do need to tell you a little something about Built Bar. Jake, you know how much I love Built Bar. I talk to you about it all the time. It's for those of you who do not know, it's a protein bar that tastes like a candy bar. It is high protein, low calorie, low carb. It's everything you want. And it is, like I say, it tastes like a candy bar. I am not lying. It is delicious. I am a glutton a lot of the times, and I have 2 at a time. I use it as a meal replacement. The peanut butter brownie is my personal favorite. They sent me these. I think, I don't know if you can still get them because they do a lot of these limited time offers, but they sent me this cookie dough chunk, which was unbelievable. But I can have 2, and it's still less calories and higher protein than going out and getting like a Metrics Big 100, which is something I used to have as a meal replacement bar all of the time. So if you haven't tried it, take the plunge with me. I've put my money where my mouth is. I've bought dozens of boxes of my own volition. So go to built.com, put in the promo code LOCKED15. That's built.com, promo code LOCKED15 to get 15% off of your next order of Built Bar. All right, Jake. So there's a lot still to go in this game. I mean, we have way too much to talk about in such a limited time to do it, and I'm kind of looking here to make sure that we cover the things that we said that we wanted to talk about. You just kind of mentioned about the defense as well as special teams, that how that could set up the offense, and you think about the fact that the Wisconsin being this turnover prone machine. But like my fear going into a game like this is that, and I think this is me being conditioned to someone who's watched the Detroit Lions, for the majority of my whole life. I mean, you were just at the Lions game. I mean, I'm glad I fell asleep during it. I woke up to like text from you, and I woke up to a call from you after that, and you're like, did you see what happened? I'm like, you don't even have to say anything. I knew you were at the Lions game. I know it was something that did not positively impact the Detroit Lions, but I think about how whenever it's like, oh, there's a team that turns the ball over like crazy, and it's like, oh, the Lions should actually be able to win this game. what happens? It's like they don't turn the ball over. Career day for the quarterback. So like I'm a little scarred in that light. And I'm sure a lot of Michigan fans are too, because I look at Graham Mertz and he turns the ball over. It's one touchdown to 6 interceptions, and I'm thinking about how Michigan's finally starting to get turnovers, and I'm like, yes, okay, Michigan's gonna do it. They're gonna be able to go out there and turn them over, but the Detroit Lions person in me, I'm not gonna say fan because I don't think that's what I am. It is like he's going to go out there and throw for like 400 yards and no interceptions and 4 touchdowns, isn't he? He's going to have a career day, but that's probably not true, right? Like, I think the good thing is Michigan's defense has a pass rush, not necessarily getting much up the middle, but you're getting stuff from Aiden Hutchinson, David Ajabo, Mike Morris, Taylor Upshaw. You're starting to see those guys starting to impact the game. How much do you think that Michigan's going to be able to continue to do these things to Mertz, and how hard do you think it would be for him to suddenly break those habits of turning the ball over, considering that's just kind of what he's done so far this year?
Yeah. I think when you look at the analytics of football, is there's one analytic that, I've been through a number of different coaches and, my time in college and in the NFL. The one that's always emphasized turnover ratio. The teams that have a high positive turnover ratio are the winning teams. They're the playoff teams. They're forced to be reckoned with. And the teams who, dump the ball left and right and they're giving the ball away, they're losing teams. So Michigan, like you just touched on, Michigan's positive in that sense. Wisconsin's negative in that sense. It's early in the season, but I think we have a big enough sample size that we can say these are generally the DNAs of each of our team. Like Cade takes care of the football. I'm a huge fan of Cade in that sense. Is he's a great leader. He owns up. He kind of just gets it, Whereas you have Graham Mertz on the other end, who, for whatever reason, man, I know he was, possibly even a Heisman candidate preseason. So you got to wonder, hey, is he rattled a little bit? But ultimately, I don't think it's going to be. That's not going to tell the whole story. Is how do we get these turnovers? The way I see this playing out is it's going to come down to first and second down. Wisconsin is a run-heavy offense. They have a big O-line, good tight ends. So they're going to try to run the ball. They know what they are too, is they're going to go up there and they're going to try to run the ball and create 3rd and 4s or 3rd and 3s for Graham Mertz to, still be able to threaten the run game to get a first down, but maybe some short passes, get him comfortable. So if you can get Wisconsin behind the sticks and force them into 3rd and 8s, 3rd and 10s, 10 plus 12 yards, that's when your percentages to move the chains really, really reduce, and your chances of making a dumb errant throw and generating a turnover really, really, go up. So I think the key here for Michigan is going to be attacking early downs and getting Wisconsin behind the sticks, putting them in positions that they're not comfortable with and that they're not good at. 3rd and long, having Graham Mertz drop back. Hopefully you have Aiden Hutchinson, some of the other guys creating havoc off the edge, just getting in his face, making him uncomfortable, hitting him, just getting a hand in his chest, spraying sweat in his mouth and his eyes, whatever it is, man, just make him uncomfortable back there. And I think it's football so much of a self-fulfilling prophecy. What you believe actually comes true. So if you can get him uncomfortable early, based on how his season's going, I don't think he's going to be able to rebound from that and have a stellar game. So I think the key here is what is Michigan defense doing on 1st and 2nd down? Can we put them in uncomfortable positions, and then can we capitalize when they are on 3rd and long situations?
And it will be interesting to see, especially because Wisconsin's pretty predictable, right? Like you said, 1st and 2nd down, they tend to want to run the ball. If you get them in 3rd, anywhere between 3rd and 3, they're probably going to run, and they're probably going to go for it on 4th if they're anywhere on the good side of the 40. We saw that in 2019, and it'll be interesting to see how much Michigan is going to be able to continue to stop their run game. They obviously didn't the last 2 years, but there's no, like I said this last year, though. I mean, there's no Jonathan Taylor on the other side. Ches Malusi is a very good tailback, but I think that considering with Don Brown not being there and the fact that they knew what Don Brown was running, they were always evading the pressure. A little bit different with Mike McDonald, right? You don't necessarily know where the pressure is coming from. You might not know where Aiden Hutchinson is at any given point in time. Although with that in mind, the matchup I'm really looking forward to is Aiden Hutchinson and Tyler Beach, their left tackle. He has been abysmal in pass blocking, but you got to get him into pass blocking situations. Right. That's the big key here. So how I just want to know, did you, because I'm trying to think about the past games, and 2013 and 2014, like basically they don't exist in my mind anymore.
Yeah.
Did you ever play at Cap Randall? I don't feel like you did. Yeah.
We played a home game my senior year,
Mm-hmm.
16, and the game was way closer than it should have been. We missed a couple field goals. Ultimately, we really dominated the game. It wasn't our best offensive performance, but we were able to mix in some play actions. We did a play action. I ran the bread and butter corner route early. That just kind of opened things up. But a big key for our defense this week is Josh Ross. I think he's listed as probable right now. He's our team leader in tackles, and when he hits you, it's a violent hit. It's a hit that kind of takes the air out of the player and the stadium. Sounds like a gunshot. I played against his brother. His brother has the hardest skull I've ever been around in my life. I'm pretty sure that he has like a cement implant in his forehead, and I've heard the same is true about Josh. So, I want to see him 100% healthy, flying around, going out there and making plays. Because ultimately, if we can stuff the run up the middle, we will put them into those, third and long situations. And then, like you said, Aiden Hutchinson should have a field day, in against that tackle. But another key is, they love Jake Ferguson. Being a tight end I think he's really, really talented. Some of the things he's been able to do. So, what can we do to slow him down? Are we going to be chipping him when he tries to get out on routes with our defensive ends? Are we going to be rolling down and just trying to redirect him throughout his routes? He seems to be in tight ends are typically outlets for quarterbacks. He seems to be like the safety valve for Graham Mertz. And just to wrap this up, the one thing I'm interested in this matchup is, again, we kind of hinted on it last week, is you go through all offseason and you just compete against yourself. Spring ball, it's Michigan versus Michigan. Camp, it's Michigan versus Michigan. You have some periods sprinkled in there, 4 teams like this, for the Ohio States, for the Washingtons. But Wisconsin's offense and Michigan's offense, they're kind of the same, of a pro style throwback. We're going to run heavy, run first offense. Where we saw Rutgers is more RPO. They're going to try to confuse the defense, misdirection, look for a little seam here and there and hit it and go. Wisconsin's traditionally like, we're going to be under center. We're going to use multiple tight ends, fullbacks, heavy personnel, turn around and hand it off. And we're just going to say we're bigger and stronger than you. So typically this matchup is going to be a fun one, because it's going to be a battle of just your old throwback Midwestern football of, we're going to focus on the run first. We're going to try to play great defense, and whoever can successfully implement the run and who can successfully stop the run on defense is ultimately going to win the game. So I think, in terms of their run game, I think we have a leg up on them, because we do practice against our offense, all year long. So we see the looks that they typically give on offense too.
Whereas Michigan obviously can do a little bit more. They have more spread elements to their offense. The Jake Ferguson thing is interesting to me, because Graham Mertz has not been comfortable in the pocket at any given point in time, it seems, so far. And he's been very errant as well. And it seems like Jake Ferguson is not getting utilized in the passing game in the way that you would kind of expect him to. Because to me, when you think Wisconsin football, you think of the tight end in a lot of ways is the leading receiver for the Badgers. And right now, I mean, I think he's third. That's probably about where you would expect him to be, but he's not getting targeted in the way that you would think, because of what Graham Mertz is incapable of doing, which is kind of confusing for a former 5-star. My thing, if I'm Michigan, is I get Graham Mertz. It kind of sounds like basketball. I get Graham Mertz off of his position, right? Get him somewhere on the field where he isn't trying to be. And if that is, I'm sorry, talk about Ferguson, get him somewhere where he's not supposed to be. And that's going to that would, I think, make the game. And that's going to be up to the safeties, I feel, and the linebackers in those passing situations to try to get him off of his spot. Mm-hmm. So it'll be interesting. This is just going to be, I just no idea what to anticipate in this game, because on paper, I feel like, okay, the offense shouldn't be able to do a lot. The defense should, but I kind of also feel like, not to go back to the offensive side of the ball, but I kind of really have this feeling like, because they're so confident when they talk about the offense. When we talk to the coaches, when we talk to the players, they're so confident. And we've only seen really one bad quarter or one bad half from Michigan so far. So not to go back to the offense, but like, how confident are you that Michigan's going to be able to kind of do what it wants to do against the super tough defense?
Well, I'll be honest with you, Isaiah, is I don't know. This is the ultimate test right here, because what Wisconsin does really well is stop the run. Our DNA is run first, run heavy, run often, so this is going to be a battle of, are we going to be hard-headed and just try to run it straight up the gut and say, this is who we are, this is what we do? Or are we going to find ways to put our guys in a better position, try to find numbers, try to find seams that we can hit, create explosive plays, create momentum? Because ultimately, really what happened last week is 3 and out after 3 and out after 3 and out after 3 and out. You can't get in a rhythm. Your defense is on the field. Rutgers started to convert their third downs. They elongated drives, whereas our offense wasn't on the field hardly at all in the second half. So what it comes down to is sustaining drives. You can wear on a defense in that sense. You can get those big boys up front a little bit tired, get them sitting higher in their stance so our linemen can get underneath them and move them. Get the linebackers, I just thought of this is the Wisconsin game. I remember us trying to do jet sweeps sideline to sideline. We had a couple hurry up packages where we're going to run JU on a sweep left, Jabril on a sweep right, get their linebackers at D-line flying, they're huffing and puffing, and now we're going to enforce the run up the middle when you're loosened up, when you're a little bit tired. So I'd like to see us implement a little bit of that to try to get these guys running, moving sideline to side, get them gassed a little bit. And once they're gassed, they'll loosen up, they'll get higher in their stance, and hopefully we can out leverage them and move them off the ball.
Yep, that's exactly, said much more eloquently than I could, because it's, football in a way that I don't, obviously, believe it or not. Guy who played at Michigan and played in the NFL knows more than guy who never played more than flag football. Anyway, I want to see more AJ Henning. That's I feel like that's maybe one of the reasons why we haven't seen him much, because it feels like that's like an ultimate weapon that you can put out there. We see how electric he is in the return game and the few times that he's gotten offensive touches, but he's only getting a handful of snaps. So I feel like we're going to see him get involved. All right, let's continue on the other end, giving our final score predictions. I know that people have seen, may have seen either of ours on Wolverines Wire. Mine through my predictions piece. Jake partook in the polling of former players, which, I think everyone hoped Chase Winovich's one comes true, 69-10, and of course Chase says 69-10.
Hilarious, Chase.
Anyway, I was not surprised that when when I got that text back from him saying that, there was a bunch of emojis and things I omitted in there. It's not saying there was nothing I couldn't print, but it was very Chase. Anyway, football has been back and it's been better than ever. Especially you look at some of these games that have been happening. Miami, what is going on? Miami, you lost to Virginia. What are you doing? Their only 2 wins are against App State and
there's something about these Southern teams, man. It's the SEC, and I know Michigan fans can relate to this. They just play each other, and somehow it's just been agreed upon that teams from the South are like, they're great. I know Miami had a high preseason ranking. What are they doing? Who are they? Like, it always just bothered me that it's just something about the Southern teams, especially the SEC. But of course, I would lump Miami, especially this year, in with it. Like they're untouchable or something. But let's start putting some respect on the Big Ten's name. These Northern teams, like, hey, we got some talent up here too. We got great coaching and good fundamentals. Like, why don't we start flipping the script a little bit on that sense? So maybe the title turn. The ESPN SEC partnership, a little bit doubtful on it, but we'll see.
Well, it's, what it is. It's all, not to digress too much, but it all started in 2006, and it has to do with Michigan, actually. This whole Southern football versus particularly the SEC, and I know Miami's not in the SEC and all, but it all started when, after Michigan lost to Ohio State, Michigan, the Big Ten ended its season a week before because there was no Big Ten championship game. And on top of that, I think they also ended the season a week beforehand. So like the Michigan Ohio State game was always the week before Thanksgiving, right? It wasn't that the Saturday after, it was the Saturday before. So then you had Thanksgiving, and there'd be another slate of games, and then the conference championship games after that. And for weeks, there was this clamoring of like rematch, right? Number 1 versus number 2. Number 2 lost to number 1 on the road by 3 points. Like, we need to see that again, right? Like neutral territory. Who knows who's actually better? And Urban Meyer was out there leading Florida. and he was sitting there talking about how, I think America wants to see the Big Ten champion versus the SEC champion. This is before the Florida was playing in the SEC championship. And then I think it was the SEC championship game. Gary Danielson, former Detroit Lion, Northern guy, originally, I believe, is the color commentator on the CBS air of the SEC championship. And he's just going on and on and on about how America doesn't want to see a rematch. They want to see Florida versus Ohio State. And that flipped the script because Florida was down at 4 or something like that. Michigan was at 3. And then the number 2 team, whoever that was, lost. So the thought was, all right, Michigan's going to move up. Florida leapfrogged Michigan in the rankings so that number 1, number 2 for the BCS championship was ended up being Ohio State, Florida. And the fact that Florida ran Ohio State off the field, that suddenly made it so SEC domination became a thing. So
great story. Good fact.
Anyway, and I remember that I was a student at that time. So that was hard to take because I wanted to see Michigan in the national championship. But all right, anyway, as always, that was the lead-in to say, as always, BetOnline.ag is your number 1 spot for all the pro and college football action this season. With a new and updated site and interface, even more odds, props, and contests, BetOnline.ag continues to be the number 1 source for everything football. So head to BetOnline.ag, sign up today, receive that 50% welcome bonus. It's double your initial deposit, actually. Well, I've got that old. But anyway, nonetheless, don't forget to use the promo code Locked On from football, basketball, boxing, right to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all of your favorite sports. BetOnline, your online sportsbook experts. All right, college football fanatics, there's another thing that I got to tell you about. Have you ever heard of Prize Picks? Prize Picks is a daily fantasy sports deal that's made easy. I love this. I know you will too. Prize Picks offers every sport you could think of, like the NFL, college football, NBA, college basketball, Major League Baseball, soccer, MMA, whatever you want. Prize Picks also offers more college football props than anyone in the world and offers the star players of the Power 5 as well as mid-major players you may have never even heard of. Prize Picks offers any prop that you could think of, from a yardage to touchdowns, even interceptions thrown. Anyone who makes their deposit and uses the promo code Locked On will receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100. So go out there. You can pick 2 to 5 players, over under on the projections, and you can win up to 10 times on any entry. And it's just you versus the projected numbers. Prize Picks allows mixed sports entries. That means you can take the over on LeBron combined with the under on Mahomes in the same entry. Use the award-winning app on both the App Store and Google Play. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It's that easy. Prize Picks is safe, offers fast withdrawals. So don't hesitate. Go to prizepicks.com, get it on the App Store, download it. Prize Picks is daily fantasy made easy. All right, that felt like a long time talking there between the story about the SEC and then all of those reads. Anyway, so all right, now that we're into it, what do you think is going to happen at noon? Thankfully, the weather looks like it's going to hold off, which is good, because I was just been saying all week, like every time I go to Madison, the weather's terrible. And it sounds like it's going to hold off, but it's still going to be overcast and gloomy, which sounds about right. But how do you see this game unfolding in your mind's eye, Jake?
Okay, so my line has also moved. I know I predicted something yesterday, but I've kind of talked myself into a moved line. What I do see is a shaky Wisconsin offense that is going to cough the ball up a couple times. And I think that puts Michigan's offense in a better position. I don't think that Michigan's going to put up 30 points. I don't think it's going to be an explosive day for the offense, but I think Cade gets back to himself a little bit. Game manager. I want to see, the Gaddis, get him involved with the pass game, get his confidence, get him in rhythm early while still focusing on the run. But ultimately, I do think this is going to be a throwback football game. I love that it's overcast. It's very fitting for the brand of football I think we're going to see tomorrow. And it's a noon game. So you wake up, you brew a pot of coffee, you eat your breakfast, you turn on game day, and then it's Michigan, Wisconsin at noon. There's nothing better than it as a fan. There's nothing better than it as a player. But But ultimately, you know, my line, it's moved. I think I said 20-14 yesterday. I'm going to go 24-10 today, Michigan. So that's what I'm hoping for too. But that's the way I see it playing out. And I think if we can do that, boy, we're going to have a lot of momentum going into the rest of the season, a lot of confidence.
You know what? I like it. And I kind of feel like I've said all week, I have no idea what to expect at all in this game because, like you said, Michigan has not played well on the road generally. Now it has against like Maryland, against Rutgers, against Michigan State even. I mean, you were part of the 2016 team that, you know, that I had no doubts that, you know, you're going to go into Michigan State and win that game. But against Penn State, I know you won one game there, 2015. When I think of the pictures I took, I think of the actually pictures of you that I took in that game. Your focal point. But that was the only win at Penn State. They haven't won at Wisconsin. They haven't obviously won at Ohio State. And it wrote, you know, bowl games. I mean, that's a different story. It's like the story I always like to tell people about the bowl games, and this is something, and you're probably going to refute me on this. I felt like going up against Florida State in the not to digress too much. I knew going up against Florida State in the Orange Bowl that year, I was like, Michigan doesn't want to be here. And you know why I told myself that is because every time we talked to you, which I felt like we got to talk to you a bunch, you know, in the lead up, especially in Ann Arbor, and you constantly were like, oh no, we really want to play this game, I guess, especially because it's against a sweet opponent. I remember you said sweet opponent all the time. And I was just like, yeah, he's trying to talk himself into want to playing in this because they thought they were going to be in the playoff. So bowl games are a different story. But road games, it's tough for me to know exactly what's going to happen in this because what we see at home for Michigan is always different than what we see on the road. So as much as I like want to sit there and say, yeah, it's going to be this is going to be a, you know, like you said, 24-10 on paper, that makes complete sense. I do think 24 points is right. I think Wisconsin's going to have a few things up its sleeve as well. I'm predicting 24-23. I think it's going to be a close, but I am projecting a win.
Okay. Now, the thought behind the big game. At some point, the tide's got to turn, man. At some point, Michigan has to take that step and say, we are who we say we are. We are the leaders in the best. We are a force to be reckoned with, you know? And I love wearing this Block M, man. I love wearing, I wear it everywhere I go. When this hat wears out, I get another hat. I love wearing my maize blue. I take great pride in it, man. I'm a kid from Columbus, Ohio. I take great pride in it, you know, but you puff your chest out a little bit more and you walk a little taller when the program is doing well, you know, when and then when the program is dominant and in those conversations for a Big Ten championship, there's that much more pride. You know, you wake up with a little smirk on your face. And, you know, when they're struggling, it's kind of gloomy, man. The sun doesn't shine as much. You know, the birds don't chirp as much. The food doesn't quite taste as good, you know. So, and I know that that's amplified as a player. So ultimately, man, let's go out there. This Wisconsin team is talented, but they're very beatable, and we could beat them handily. So this is a chance for the program to take a big step, solidify this offense a little bit, say we're a complete team, and just kind of emphasize the direction that this program's going right now. It'll help with recruiting, and it'll just help with everything around the campus and the general feeling about the program. So this is a hell of an opportunity to do exactly just that, Isaiah, which is to go into and win a big game on the road, national television, everyone's watching. Let's take a step forward.
You know, the narrative has to change because you know what the narrative was when I was a student. I remember I was in Las Vegas in 2006. I couldn't see the home opener. Well, I could see the home opener, but I didn't get much of a chance to watch much of it. And I remember I was getting in a cab to go to the airport I was out there with my mom for a horse convention. Like you go to Las Vegas for horse conventions. And we were getting in the cab to go to McCarran, and my mom wanted to brag about the fact that I was a Michigan student. So it says the cab driver, I probably without any kind of provocation, my son goes to Michigan. And the first thing the cab driver says is good football team. And now it's not the narrative when it comes to Michigan. The narrative is what's wrong in Ann Arbor. Even when things have been mostly good under Jim Harbaugh, I think the narrative has been set by the Paul Feinbaums and Barrett Sallees of the world, and Michigan's got to change that, and it would be a really good start, even though that would mean Wisconsin's 1-3 on the season. I mean, I still think that there'll be a bowl team and what have you, but the narrative can start to shift if Michigan can win this game. So,
absolutely.
All right, that's going to do it for our preview today. I've got to start getting stuff packed up to head to Madison myself. So again, thank you, Jake, for joining the show. And assuredly, we'll have a lot to talk about when we get to X's and O's, for better or worse, hopefully for the better. So anyway, for Jake, I am Isaiah Hull. We will talk to you next week. Thanks for listening and or watching. Peace.